Welcome to the Roundtable, where we interview successful entrepreneurs to help grow your business. Today we have Jim Sears, Aaron Beck, Mark Hirade, and Marcus Beagle. Let's get started.
Today at the Roundtable, we have Mark Hirade. Mark is an entrepreneur as well as a practicing securities lawyer of over 30 years. He has dedicated his practice to helping entrepreneurs raise capital for their companies. Mark's unique insight comes from a breadth of experience in his discipline, including nearly a decade working for the SEC, starting his own law practice, and literally writing the book on raising capital through crowdfunding.
Social networking resources, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever the platform is, utilizing those social networks to grow your own network, because it's so important to network. And it isn't necessarily getting the number of followers or contacts that you have, but developing deeper relationships with folks and following up, because everybody is busy. And the key is to follow up and really reach out, lean in, and establish kind of meaningful relationships with folks. And it doesn't have to be a whole lot, but by using social network, you'll be able to find people to do that with. There are a ton out there, but one of the ones I tell clients about is Sam Altman's Startup School, partly because it's online and it's free. And there's a lot of links in their videos and text. And he's a great entrepreneur. And I really recommend that. Just Google Sam Altman Startup School, and you'll see a whole curriculum. I think they put the entire class online. We're really lucky because the startup ecosystem is so robust now that there are a lot of resources that entrepreneurs can avail themselves of. Yeah. And that's a good place to start. Well, it's a little self-serving, but the advice to hire the cheapest lawyer or service provider, that old adage, you kind of get what you pay for. It's very true. And, there are countless numbers of deals where my client hasn't gotten good advice. And as a result, we've had to fix it, clean things up, and it's cost a lot more than it would have if had the client just come to us to begin with. It's tough when you are starting out and you're an entrepreneur, you're a startup, and cash is really thin. But you just got to be able to use the judgment, exercise judgment, and like anything else, reach out, talk to a lot of people, find referrals. Don't just, hire the cheapest or the first lawyer that you find or your brother-in-law. Really talk to a lot of people and try to select good help, good counsel. Yeah, I'm writing some crowdfunding legislation for California to try to make it easier for entrepreneurs to access capital, even easier than it is presently under equity crowdfunding. The SEC last year, in response to COVID, they adopted a temporary rule that will alleviate some of the requirements relating to getting a CPA review on your financial statements to do an equity crowdfunding raise. And so I've incorporated some of those rules and made them, I'm proposing to make them permanent in California and increase the limit a little bit. The SEC's limit is 250,000. In my bill, the limit is 300. So basically, an entrepreneur can raise the first 300,000 from the crowd by doing an equity crowdfunding offering without having to get a third-party accountant, CPA, to review the financials. And typically, that's the most expensive part of an equity crowdfunding campaign. And so that would reduce significantly the cost and make accessing capital, a lot more available to a lot more people.
All right. So now I see a couple questions that I'm going to read off the live feed. One of it for Mark is, what advice would you give for raising capital on Kickstarter?
Okay, Kickstarter is donation based, right? As opposed to what I was discussing there, equity crowdfunding. Um, the advice is the same. You're not constrained on Kickstarter by the securities laws because you're not selling an investment. You're not offering people who donate money a return, an investment return. You might be offering them a T-shirt or production credit or something like that. But my advice is to be transparent, make full disclosure. Tell the people on Kickstarter what you intend to use the money for, and what your milestones are. What milestones you have to accomplish in order to meet your goals.
Great. And another one that I see is advice in becoming a lawyer. Any resources or books or things before jumping into the becoming a lawyer?
Uh, there's a horror story called 1L by Scott Turow. He's a great author. I would pick that up, but it's nothing like it's not the horror story. I think it's a story about first year at Harvard Law School, but no, lots of resources relating to becoming a lawyer. I've enjoyed 30 plus years of doing it, so can't recommend it more highly.
Great. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
And now we're going to move on to Aaron.
Today at the round table, we have Aaron Beck. Aaron is an award-winning theater director, a former Dragon mission director at SpaceX, and a mother. She has beautifully merged her entrepreneurial and family life experiences to become founder and CEO of Wana Family Network, a public benefit corporation for affordable childcare, where they host the Kome free babysitting app.
So why do we learn the rules of entrepreneurship? We learn the rules of entrepreneurship so that we can break them. And that's one of the most important things that you have to always remember as a founder is the number one thing is to keep your company alive, not just follow the rules of entrepreneurship. So there's a lot of times where this has been so important for the survival of our company. And one of them is in funding. One of the things that I was always taught was if you're ever going to accept money, you've got to get 12 to 18 months of runway at a time. And really be careful about how many people you have on your cap table. Well, when we were raising funding, a runway of 12 to 18 months just never came. But what did come was small checks. And we could get quite a few of those. And so we accepted new people to our cap table. We accepted checks in the $10,000 range that would get us maybe one to half of a month. And that's what sustained us for a couple of years until the point where we started making revenue and even became profitable for a couple of months at the end of 2020. One of the other things is how you hire and take care of your employees. I have often heard that if you're not full-time into a startup, then you don't care. You're not committed. That goes for if you're a founder or if you're an employee. But, not everybody is a college student eating ramen in the basement, and that's a startup person. Some of us are parents. Some of us have other jobs. Some of us have other things that we need to do to keep life going while we do this business. And that's okay. One of the most important things that we did for hiring is actually hire our staff part-time. What that means is that they can all have other jobs while working for us. That means that when we're in lean times and we don't have as many hours to go around, they're still financially stable. It also means that I can help them find other work. So if there's lean times on our side, we can help them find other work with other founders that are working in our space. And again, that keeps everybody stable. What that's allowed us to do is maintain the same staff for now over 2 years without having that attrition and that burnout from people needing to weather all of those financial storms that a startup goes through. And finally, I think it's really important for founders to think about the equity that they hold. So when your startup is going through lean times, it's important for founders to think about the equity that they hold. Startups are going to go through lean times, and that's okay. How are you going to take care of your people and your staff while that's happening? Well, equity is a really great way to do that. And when I was starting my company, I was told you'd better hold on to every percentage point that you possibly can. Well, the best things that I've done with a lot of my percentage points is give them to other people, the people who are writing my software, the people who are doing our marketing. Those are the people that are the lifeblood of the company, not just me, the founder. And, it's okay to be a little bit generous when it's taking care of the people that are being generous to you. So learn all those startup rules and then really think hard about how they apply to you. Does it make sense for what you need to achieve? And if you think you can get to the goal while doing things differently, be smart about it, be deliberate about it, and go break the rules.
Great. So the first question that now I'm curious about too for Aaron is, it says, did you meet Elon Musk?
Yes, I definitely did meet Elon Musk.
Nice. The next one is, what advice would you give to leaving a stable job to joining or creating a risky business in the startup world?
Ooh, I love that. And I did that. I left SpaceX to go start a business when I became a parent. The first thing to do is to understand your finances. When we make our financial projections for our family, we start ahead. We write down every single thing that we spend. We put it in a spreadsheet by category. When you get to the end of a year or even 3 to 6 months, then you have a good understanding of how much your personal burn rate is. Knowing your personal burn rate means that you know how long the finances you have will last you, and you know how much you need to be earning on the side or in addition in order to make things last. Because when you are going into something risky, you want to make sure that you can keep doing it. It's not that you're protecting your finances because you need to have even a certain standard of living. It's really how long can you stay in the game, and that's what you're protecting for. The other part is it's got to be what you love. I always look for a tipping point of some kind, and for example, we actually took a sabbatical from SpaceX, my husband and I, about halfway through our tenure there. We were gone for 15 months. And we had spent a lot of time planning, well, we know we want to do this, but when are we going to do it? And we finally had a friend call and say, hey, I'm going to be in France. I'd like you to come and visit. We said, we're ready then to start our sabbatical to take a trip backpacking. And we want to start here. So that defined the moment that we know we need to leave this thing and go do another thing. And then I knew at some point I would be ready to transition again. And I had my daughter, and I realized that I wanted to be home more. I wanted to be able to be remote and mobile. And so that was my tipping point. I said, okay, well, then it is time to move on to something else. So if you keep yourself open to those sorts of big life changes, there often comes a boundary point that tells you it's time to move.
Great. Thanks, Aaron. And now we're going to move on to Jim.
Today at the round table, we have Jim Sears. Jim attended Brown University, where he began collaborating with his business partner to start Tang Math Games, an interactive, clever, and fun medium for children to learn math quickly and efficiently. Jim has worked tirelessly over the years to combat the lack of math fluency in the US today, and Tang Math Games is a wonderful testament to that goal.
The book I can't stop talking about. It's a book called Mindos. It's by a guy named Dr. Paul Dobransky. I'm just completely obsessed with it, and it's annoying everyone around me. I'm going to sound like a nerd here, but when I was like 15 years old, I started listening to a lot of psychology and marketing stuff from this guy named Evan Pagan. I'm not going to lie, it was mostly about how to pick up chicks. But anyway, a few months in, he started mentioning how this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, changed his life. So I bought it, and then that's when I started kind of getting into the marketing and goal setting, and that led to just an obsession with entrepreneurship and networking, psychology, and then tens of thousands of hours later, I should say tens of thousands of hours of books and podcasts and programs and just all these different things. It really never stopped, just that learning and that obsession. So But the thing is there came a point a few years ago where I got frustrated and I had to stop all of that completely. I just dropped podcasts and all that. So there was two reasons. One, I realized I wasn't actually using any of the information. I was just kind of addicted to learning about it. And I was just repeating what I heard back to friends, families, just to kind of sound cool and smart, man. And it was just cluttering my mind. So I noticed there was just too many contradictions. These gurus, they would talk for, you got the 5 principles for finance or freedom, or 2 videos later, they'd say, there's only one principle to finance and, earning money. And it's worse is they contradict their own definitions. They'd say one of these buzzwords or power terms, and then they'd use them way out of context in the next video. And it just got super frustrating. So fast forward 10 years, I'm checking out one of Evan's business master programs, and he's got this guy, Dr. Paul, and he introduces his book, and it just resonated with me. The book basically, what it does is it encapsulates all of, everything I've been learning: NLP, human behavioral psychology, Freudian theory, Nash equilibrium. He just kind of brings it all together into these visual maps, and it can be used to make decisions, control your emotions, help identify and solve business problems or life problems and whatnot. So what I like most is it's backed by science, and it's very simple. He's got clear definitions, all these different commonly used power words, and he kind of shows you exactly how they relate to each other visually. So now every time when I'm listening to these different podcasts and whatnot, reading books, I'll hear these words, vision, state, belief, strategy, purpose, intention, communication, politics, all these different things. Go down the list of them, and I no longer get frustrated. The words actually make sense to me, and I kind of have a spot for them in my mind. And if I don't know the word, I kind of use it as like a my Wikipedia or dictionary. I type it in, and I have a digital version, and I search that term. So another video could go into more detail, but if you're interested in that stuff, highly recommend Mindos. All right, a useful book for entrepreneurship, I would say One Simple Idea by Stephen Key. The book's just packed with useful stuff. It's going to save you a ton of time, especially if you're just starting off. I have a friend whose business is absolutely crushing it. He's doing very well online in big box retail, and this book actually guided him every step of the way. He said he couldn't have done it without it. Be careful. There's actually 2 books, One Simple Idea for Startups and Entrepreneurs, and then One Simple Idea for Licensing. I accidentally read the licensing one. It actually took me a bit off course, but led to other opportunities, and which turned out to be a good thing. We're actually in the process of, on the side, negotiating a couple different licensing deals, and I think that if you're going to go that route, definitely check out the licensing one. Bottom line, if you have a physical product or idea, just need some direction, check out the entrepreneurship one first, and then if you want to give licensing a shot, definitely check out the licensing version. Stephen's coaching program, it's called Invent Right. I highly recommend that as well. Regardless, either way, don't expect to see results overnight, and then definitely, don't go into business or the licensing route if you're not willing to put in the work, or just completely broke and you think you're going to be a success story overnight. So that's a book that I think is great for anyone starting off.
So Jim, I see a couple of good questions right away. First one is, I also have the same problem of listening to podcasts and not taking action. What was the tipping point that made you finally take action? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
The tipping point that made me finally take action, that's a good question. I think it was, I don't know. I just finally, there was just so many years of just kind of just building up. And then, I realized, look, I'm not going anywhere just doing this. And all the information that I was learning, whether it's a podcast, I realized like that's old information. That podcast was probably recorded, weeks or months in advance. And then, unless it's like a live thing, but that guy's on to something else. Maybe he's got a different strategy or something. And it's like, you just gotta, just start off somewhere and, I don't know. I don't have a perfect answer for that, but I hope that helps a little bit there.
No worries. Another one I see is, I love NLP. Is there any tactics from it that's helped you in business? So for people who don't know what NLP is, can you at least share that for everyone?
Yeah. Yeah. So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. It was by a guy, Richard Bandler, and I think John Grinder, I think, were the two guys that started it. And then that kind of just, they started using it for business and whatnot. Yeah, I think, I mean, there's a rabbit hole with that. You could go extremely deep. But the one thing that it's helped, and MindOS actually clarifies a little bit, is with negotiation. There's a book, what's it called? It's a negotiation book that's out there. Actually, what is it? I got it right here. Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. And everything that guy says actually does relate to NLP. So, he talks about, it's mostly just emotionals and, kind of playing with, not, I don't want to say that in the right way, but, you can turn different emotions and funnel them different way and kind of see how people are, what they're thinking and whatnot. So, it's not used to trick people. It's used to, identify where they're at and where you're at. And, it helps with, closing deals and whatnot, sales, marketing. So yeah, it's definitely helped.
Oh, appreciate it. Now let's move on to Marcus, last but not least.
Today at the round table, we have Marcus Beagle. Marcus is a professor at Cal State University Dominguez Hills, where he specializes in marketing and management. He is also an entrepreneur, a business consultant, and an investor where he is focused on tech, fashion, and media. Marcus's passion and work ethic plainly show through his educational achievements and his ever-growing body of work.
When you go into entrepreneurship, in an ideal world, you would do something that you're passionate about. Now, don't get me wrong, you don't have to be passionate about something to make money in it. If you have a very good set of skills and you're just really good at something and you're just absolutely not passionate about it, you can still make a ton of money. But we only have one life. This is not a dress rehearsal. So in an ideal world, you want to be able to do something that you are skilled at as well as passionate about. Now, the trick is to identify what that right opportunity for you is. But once you have identified that right opportunity, then that's not even it. Once you have something that you're passionate about, that you're skilled at, and you've identified an opportunity, that's when the work starts, because you actually have to make that mind switch to want to take the risk. I mean, you want to take the risk, but actually take the leap and take the risk. Now that you have decided to take the risk, you actually got to stay committed to it. You can't just get started and you see your first big stone in the way and then like, okay, never mind, I'm not going to jump that. You have to keep staying committed, jumping over, staying dedicated. And here becomes also the biggest problem with a lot of first-time entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs still today experience is distractions. And I'm not speaking about distractions like maybe family and friends and those types of distractions. I'm talking about distractions of real business opportunities. Here you're running your business and you're making progress. And other entrepreneurs, other investors, they see that you're making progress. And they're like, hey, stop what you're doing. I'm going to hire you. I'm going to recruit you over and either just pay you. I'm going to get you equity in this business. And all these sound like amazing opportunities. You're like, oh my God, people see the hard work that I do and they want to recruit me into their businesses. But if you truly believe in your business, in your skill set, and you know that you're following your passion, those distractions, those other opportunities that sound so amazing, you got to just stay true to your mission. You got to say no to those. And that's something very difficult to do. That is something that I have done so many times wrong, where I was just shooting in too many directions at the same time and stretching myself thin. Frankly, I still do that today. That's probably my biggest weakness. But let's talk about a little bit about the company. When you develop a company, when you look at it externally, the external representation of a company is essentially the brand, and branding is so important. And when you develop a brand, it's ideally something that really stands out. We talk about it like differentiate each other from another company, but it's not just about differentiation. It's about a good brand really stands for something, and it stands for something, and it shows that it stands for something. That's what allows people, the community, as well as people internally from the company, to fall in love with it. Right? And that's what a brand should essentially do. Now, when you look at how a brand is created, it is the face of a company. But it's not just that. A brand is created by the people inside of the company, right? And when you look at the definition of a company is nothing about a collection of people. And the most critical thing is hiring the right type of people, working with the right type of people. Because it's very debatable to say, can you create company culture? Can you manage company culture? In some sense, you can. But the reality is, company culture is how your employees feel about coming to work and how they feel about each other. So making sure that you hire the right people with the right skill set and make sure that they enjoy coming to work, that they understand the higher mission, that they feel that they're part of something bigger than themselves, that's going to be ultimately critical to your business success. And the funny thing is, as soon as you have built that, it's always on the brink of falling apart. That sounds scary, but it's not, because as your company continues to grow, as you continue to hire new people, you will make hiring mistakes. And then you have a bad apple, as we call it, and you have to get rid of those bad apples before they spoil the rest of the bunch. So entrepreneurship is not easy. You know, there's courses that teach you entrepreneurship. They teach you the theories, and the theories certainly are true to a degree. But as it is in business, everything depends on a situation by situation basis. That's why entrepreneurship is truly a lifestyle, not a perfect science.
All right, Marcus. So I'm looking at one of the questions. It actually doesn't even look like a question, it looks like a statement. So I'll just read it. I see lots of books, shoes, and alcohol, and you're an entrepreneur. I think you're my new role model.
Yes, so
Hey.
let me explain. So sometimes I am teaching from here or from my other place in Redondo, and so all this stuff has a meaning. So first of all, I'm also a instructor as well as alumni of Cal State Long Beach. So I have my Long Beach hats here. The basketball means something. The whiskey is actually my brand, Dirty Prospector, which I own and created. So these are all 3 batches here. I play golf, so I have my Titleist balls here. I mean, I can talk about this for hours. That's why I have it here. When I'm teaching and I run out of stuff to say, I'm like, okay, let me look real quick. So everything behind me has a story that's way longer than we have tonight or today. But appreciate it. Follow me on any of my social media, and you get a sneak peek about what all these things mean.
Great. One other question is, well, I guess an actual question. How do you say no without sounding like a jerk?
You just say no. I mean, it's if the society today, it's like a lot of people are so like, they get hurt so easily. It's like, I think especially the younger generations, they're so coveted, so protected. No, you need to like you need to be able to say no, and just like, no. There is no you don't have to even explain your answer. You just say no, and that's it. If you the most important thing is where the no comes from. If your internal gut tells you this is the right thing I should do or this is the wrong thing I should do, you just stick with it, and you don't have to explain anything.
Got it. Nice and easy. Last but not least, do you have a perfect question to ask while hiring a team member?
Oh, I do. Yeah, definitely. Make me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. How would you do it? Yeah. And so now let me give you the 2 drastical different answers for that. So if you're applying, when you're applying for a job, you have to know who you're applying at. So if I'm applying at an aerospace company, I would be like, okay, wait a minute. I need my utensils first, my resources correct. Then I have to check the fridge. Do I even have peanut butter and jelly, right? Inventory check. So they would want a very technical type of answer, right? But if you're applying at like, let's say a marketing agency, a little bit more charisma in there. So your answer could be like, okay, you want me to make you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? All right, am I making it just for me or for you too? Who here in the room wants a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Charisma, a little bit of, oh, cool, this guy is fun. Like, this is the kind of guy that, Wine Wednesday, I'm going to have a drink with him after work, right? Because that's important there. If you're, for example, applying at a more bougier company, the answer would be like, peanut butter jelly sandwich? No. How about I tell you how to make a charcuterie board, right? So it's knowing there is no right answer to that very vague, weird kind of question. It's just how you deliver it how you answer it, and how you make people in the room feel. And that's the answer for every interview question. There is no right answer. It's all about delivery and how you're making the people in the room feel. And once you become a, so to say, a master of answering interview questions, you'll succeed and you'll like nail every single interview question. And you know why? Because Google interview questions. You're going to get a list of 100 interview questions. Answer them all. Write out a script. Not that you want to remember the script, but at least you know sort of how to answer it and how to deliver it. That's how you get all the jobs.
Got it. Well, we made it, our first live showing, and we obviously made it in time too, 30 minutes, just like a regular show. So Mark, Marcus, Aaron, Jim, thank you so much for being here and answering the questions and creating great content. And I hope to see you and the rest of everybody else on our next live viewing. Thank you.
Keep up the good work, everybody.
Appreciate it.